Okay. I think what we'll do is I'm just going to finish off what I was talking about in terms of massing and so on, and showing you how you can actually generate some drawings from it. This is just a mass model I made in the other class. And then what we'll do for the next, because I have you 3 days in a row, and I think what we'll do is we'll concentrate on your project that you're doing for Niels and Alan. So if anybody has a project that they've designed and they'd like me to draw up for them on the screen, I'm not going to give you the file, you're still going to have to do it yourself. But I can take one project as an example and then just draw it up on the screen for you, just to show you how to do it and what would be required. I'm going to do it very quickly, and then you're going to have to do it yourselves. So if you guys want to give me your project, then that's fine. Then we'll do that later on. Because actually, just the sheer fact of watching somebody else do it when you've already worked a little bit on a project that's similar gives you so much. It just makes it so much easier for you. Anyway, to get back to this massing stuff, this is a collection. I don't think I did this in your class. I think I did this in the other class, but it was just a collection of different masses that we put together, and then we made some mass floors. And it was just one of those very simple conceptual models that we made. But you can actually turn this into a building, and you can turn this into a set of drawings really, really quickly. And if you want to open up any mass model you've made, you can follow along with me here, and I'll give you a hand later on, show you how it's done. What might happen is when you open up your project with your mass model in it, it might be invisible. And if that's the case, you need to go to the Massing and Site tab up here, and then press this button that says Show Mass Form and Floors, and make sure that the little light bulb is switched on. Because the reason for that is Revit automatically switches it off because it's only supposed to be a shape idea. It's not actually made of building elements, walls or floors or roofs or anything. It's just a shape idea. So you can keep it in your project constantly, but it's switched off by default. Okay. So let's say we, for some reason, we decided that this really ugly building, let's say we're going to put it in Dubai or somewhere where they like to build ugly buildings, and we want to turn it into a set of drawings really quickly. Now we made all these levels, and if we go to an elevation, you can see that all the levels are set up. So we've got up to level 7. But we don't have a floor plan for each of the levels. So the first thing we need to do is make a floor plan for each of the levels. And if ever you're missing a view in Revit, it's simple enough. You go up to the View panel, View tab at the top here, and then you find the type of view you want. In this case, it's Plan Views. I'm going to go to Floor Plan. And there's all the missing levels that don't have a drawing associated with them. So if I hold down the Shift key, I can select the top one and select the bottom one and press OK. And you can see over here that suddenly we've got a floor plan generated for each of the levels that we've made. So we can click on those and we can see the different shape of the building through each level, how it changes slightly as you go through. But it's still just a shape. It's got nothing else going for it. So what I want to do is, first thing I want to do is let's put some floors in there, some real floors. So I want to turn these conceptual floors with all the area and perimeter values and so forth. I want to turn them into real floors with real materials on them. Well, not real, but real according to Revit's logic. So I go to Architecture tool, I go to Floor, and one of the options down here is Floor by Face. And this says converts a mass floor into a floor in the building model, and that's exactly what it does. So I'll select Floor by Face, and over here we get an option to change the type of floor that we want it to be. So let's say we want it to be suspended 300 millimeters concrete. I can then go in and select all the floors that I want to turn into that type of floor. Then I press Create Floor, and you can see that if I double escape, that there's some thickness has been given to the floors. So they're starting to look like real building elements. If I then select one of the floors, I can go over to the Edit Type, into the Structure, and I can see what the floor is made from. I can see the finish is made of wood planks. I can see it's got a concrete broom finish underneath, and then it's got a structure of concrete that's 200 millimeters thick. And in here we could change all these values if you want, but we'll talk about those in a couple of weeks. So that's one thing. The next thing I want to do is turn in some. I want to make some walls. So let's make some walls. It's the same process again. We go to walls, wall by face, and we can actually go around and select the individual faces. And because I've made some unusual shapes here, you might get some error messages from Revit as you go around doing this, but we can fix those later on. So you can basically just go around and select all the faces of the shape that you've made. And let's see if it'll work on this dome here. Oh yeah, it does, okay. It's fine. So now that we've got the floors and the walls in, if we go back into the Massing and Site tool, we can set the Show Mass Form and Floors by View settings, which by default switches off the mass and just leaves the Revit objects in there. So now if we go into one of the level views, you can see that if I turn up the detail a little bit, say I went to 50, that we have actually got some walls that we can start to actually use to draw building elements in there. Now I can use these walls if I want to and start to set in windows wherever we want. Start to set in doors and so forth. So it's as simple as that really. So if I go back to the 3D view, let's see where I put those windows in. There they are here. So you can see how quickly you can create any kind of crazy building shape that you want to. If I want to get a cross section through there now, I go to the view control, press the section button, and let's draw a slice through the building like this. And I go over to the section I've just created, and you can see that it's cut through all the elements there, including the dome and so on. Now I need to go around and clean it up a bit. For example, this dome runs through the wall, and these floors are running through the walls and so on like that. They're not cleaned up in terms of construction, but they're a perfect starting point to start to clean things up. The other thing I can do here is I can change the overrides of how things are displayed. And I'm going through this very quickly, but I'll go through it again and again and again over the next few weeks. And I can change everything so that it is black, just to make the expression of the, whoops, don't want that going, I want just a solid one. Okay, and apply. So now you get a much clearer idea as to where the cut goes through the individual section. Okay, so let's make another section just to look at that. Let's make a section going this direction. Section 2. And once again, I can change the overrides. I'm just going to select all the building elements, override, make this black, and then override the pattern to make it solid. So that's a pretty descriptive view of the building. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick a roof on everything that needs a roof. So I go back into the 3D view, go back into Massing and Site, switch on the mass again. You can see it's still there behind. And I'm going to go to Architecture. I'm going to go to Roofs, Roof by Face. And now I can select this element, and create roof. If we go back now to the section view, you can see the roof has been put on top of the building, like that. Any questions about that? It seems pretty clear, doesn't it, until you try and do it yourselves. Yeah. Do you want to give it a go? And I'll give you a hand with it, and I'll hold pause on it. Okay, so I'm going to just start doing this project, just to give you a hand as to how to put things together. But what I've started off by doing is, in my GIT folder on Fronter, on folder number 3, there's something called title blocks. And if we click on that, you get these different title blocks and what a title block is just basically a drawing sheet set up with a little kind of logo in the corner for your company or whatever. And I've done 3 of them. I've one for A1 size, one for A3 size, and one for A4 size. I think in this project we can actually just use A3. I think that would be the easiest way to do it because it's such a small house. So I'm just going to download one of these. So download. It turns up here, and now I'm just going to open it. So here's the sheet that I got set up. And you know, it's got all the information that you need to put on a drawing sheet. And over here we've got this logo, which is Kia's own logo. This is just a picture. I can go and find any picture and insert it in here. So you can find your own company logo, and you can take this one away and you can put your own one in here. So that's your possibility for personalization in this situation. So this is a basic setup for Kia projects. So once you're finished modifying it, and actually if you wanted, like, you can just say insert image, and then you can find an image anywhere. I don't know if I have any images actually, but any kind of image, and then you can basically just say open, and then it'll turn up on the sheet here, and you can stretch it around and magnify it or whatever, and until you get it to the right position, and then you end up with your own personalized title block for your project. So once I've done that and I'm happy with it, I just say load into project. Oh, I think what I'll do first, I need to make a new project. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say new project, architectural template. Okay, there it is there. Now we can go back into the sheet and say load into project, and so it's now been loaded into the you can see it's been loaded into the project here, so I can escape and get out of that. So the way you present projects, still, even though everything is done in 3D modeling and it's all cool and everything like that, you still have to print out some drawings mostly, because most people just understand drawings. So to make a drawing, it's called a sheet. So you can right click in the project browser over here and say new sheet, and you can see that all the different title blocks that are loaded into Revit are there, and the one I just made, A3 metric Kia, is at the top here, so I can just press OK, and so now we've got a sheet ready for anything we want to put into it. If I modify anything in this sheet, let's say we'll call this first semester intro project. That information is not just in the sheet, it's not just a text file, it's actually transferred. So now Revit is taking this information, it's actually called the entire project that. So if I go into manage up at the top here, and I go into project information, we can see that the project name is now called First Semester Introduction Project. We could continue down here to give it a number. Let's say we'll call it 2014-01. We'll call the client name, it's Jesper Vilka, isn't it? I don't know if I'm spelling this right, but anyway, never mind. And we can say we can add further information and so on in there. If I press OK, you can see that information has now been updated onto the project sheet as well. Okay. I can also put in drawn by, so I'm just going to put in Shane. Nobody's going to check my work, so I won't put anything in there. And let's call the drawing name, let's call it ground floor plan. And at the moment we're using Revit automatically uses the American coding system for drawings, but here at the moment we use the SFB system, which is the international system, which I don't need to get into it in detail because you'll hear about it all the way through the course, but it's the system that's been used for a long time. It's now being changed, but I'm going to give this something that makes sense to me, so I'm going to call it 99.3.01. You don't need to worry about that too much. That's just like a standard code for drawing types. But now we've got a sheet set up. All we need is some information to put on the sheet. Okay, so I'm just going to save the project first because Revit does crash sometimes. The newer versions crash less than the older versions. So I'm going to save it as a project. I'm going to save it in first semester GIT, and I'm going to save it as sample intro project 1J. Save.
Is there a version of 2014?
The sheet should also work with 2014. It doesn't. Oh, I've updated it then. I'll put a version up for 2014. Okay. Now, so what time are we at? Okay, we've got 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to, those guys in the corner gave me their AutoCAD file. Most of you probably won't have an AutoCAD file, you're just drawing it from scratch, but just to make it quick, I'm going to use the AutoCAD file to set up the project. So I'm going to go into level 1. And Revit allows you to link different CAD software together. So I'm going to insert and link a CAD file, which is this one here. And I'm just going to say open. And so this is the work that those guys have done over there. They're pretending not to watch, but anyway, never mind. So you can see they've got some kind of a drawing as to how they want their project to go. This is just an AutoCAD 2D drawing. If we go into 3D view like this, you can see that it's just a flat drawing. But we can use this as the basis for a 3D model. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a basic site like we did before. So I've gone into the site panel over here. And I go into massing and site, topo surface, going to place point here, here, and here. And we're just going to leave it as a flat site for now, but we need something to work on. Then I'm going to go into level 1, and we're just going to take the existing sketch and make some walls out of it. So I go into the architecture tab, go to the wall tool, and we're going to change the location line from center line to finish face exterior. So that means that when I use the outside lines of these walls, it'll set a wall in that position. And I'm going to use this pick lines tool. So I'm going to go around and pick the outside. Let's just see if I pick the right one here. Ah, it's the other way around we want it. There we go. Can pick the here and one here. What I'm doing here is I'm flipping the side of the wall. If you ever see this symbol on a Revit wall, that means that the outside of the wall is facing this direction. So we need to flip it to get it going the right direction. And I'm going to do this one here, like this, and I'm going to flip it. And we also have this kind of unusual shape. So let's just make sure we pick up as much of this geometry as we can. Flip it that way. And let's just flip. These ones are slightly different. These are kind of like glass walls, are they, guys? These ones here, yeah? Yeah. Okay. So let's do that one. Flip it. We're just going to leave it a wall for the moment. This one, flip it. This one, and flip it. Now, because these are glass, I don't want to forget about them, so I'm just going to trim them together first of all. So I select this one and press trim, trim. So those are now trimmed together. And these types of walls, before we do anything, they're not actual walls, they're curtain walls, we call them. So I'm going to select them, come over here and select, let's say, this type of curtain wall. So let's have a quick look at, let's just switch off this, switch off this, switch off this, switch off this. So this is what our 3D model is looking like at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these two together. So trim this to here, as close as that. And I'm going to trim this to here. So we get a kind of a smooth, completely enclosed element here. Now, if I zoom out, I can have a look at the section that these guys wanted to create. So I can actually come over to annotate and take a dimension from here to here, and we can see that the wall is 2527 approximately. So I'm going to go into the elevation view now, and I'm going to change this level to 2500 just to regularize it a little bit. So now level 2 has been set to 2500. I'm going to go back in here. Now I want these walls here to go up to that new level of 2500. So I'm going to select, just leave the cursor sitting on top of one of them, press the tab key so it selects all the connected walls like that. And now I can change the top constraint of the wall to level 2. So now the walls are pretty much at the right level. Okay. Now we've only got a few minutes left, so I'm just going to, for today, I'm just going to take that plan as it is, and the sheet that we made earlier, I'm just going to take the plan and put it on that sheet. So I've opened up the sheet by double clicking it over here. All I need to do is take level 1, drag it across, and click on the sheet as to where we want it to be. Now we can move it around, and we can also change the scale of it to something that will fit on the sheet, for example. So now we have a sheet that's ready to print, but we've got too much information on it. We just want to have this bit in there. So what we can do is we can select the sheet, activate the view, and down here on the right we have a crop view option and crop region visible. What this allows us to do, if I select that on, is take the edges of the view and kind of cut out all the elements that we don't want to see in the project. You see what I mean? So we don't have to have the entire project in every view. And then we can switch it off again. Whoops, switched off the wrong one. Let's do that again. There we go. We can make the region invisible afterwards so there's no box around the project. And then we can just deactivate the view, and the project or the view is ready to display like that. You can see down the bottom here we've got a little piece of text that tells us the name of the view, and it also tells us the scale that we've printed it at. We can always select the view afterwards and change it to a higher scale if we want to show it in more detail in the project view. Then we can select this and put the text up like that. Okay. I think that's probably enough for today. I'll keep going with this project tomorrow and the next day, so you get a sense how to get the whole thing together. Any questions about it? No, not yet. Huh? Okay, I'll just hold pause.